All right, it's time to get ready for our Unit 4 test, and so let's go ahead and get into it. So first one, we're going to be simplifying these expressions, and so with this one is multiplications. We're going to be using that FOIL. So 7x times x is 7x squared. That's going to be plus 7x. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 1 is 2. We'll combine like terms in the middle to get 7x squared plus 9x plus 2. And so that's my answer right there. Number 2, this one's addition, and so we're not multiplying, we're just going to combine like terms. So we're going to have 8 plus 13, which is 21, and then we have negative 4i plus 3i, which is going to be negative I, and that's it. Number 3 is back to multiplication, so x times x is x squared, x times negative 3i is negative 3 xi. It could be ix, but, and then we've got negative 9xi, and then positive 9 times 3 is 27, I squared. And so anytime we have I squared, that's equivalent of negative 1. And so that becomes a minus 27 because a positive and negative makes a negative. So I have x squared, that becomes minus 12xi, and then minus 27. X minus 9 squared means x minus 9 times x minus 9, and so we'll FOIL it. It becomes x squared minus 9x plus 81. We'll combine like terms, x squared minus 18x plus 81. Again, we're FOIL, we're multiplying, so x squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. Those cancel out in the middle, so x squared minus 4. Again, there's 2 of them, so 5x plus 1 times 5x plus 1, which gets 25x squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 1. So 25x squared plus 10x plus 1. Number 13, I forgot this parentheses at the end, but it's subtraction, which means we're going to have to change all the signs after because it's connected to the parentheses. So minus 6 and plus 3i. And now it's just combining like terms. We're not multiplying. So 13 minus 6 is 7. And then we have 11i plus 3i, which is plus 14i. We're going to have to distribute this first, and we'll also go ahead and distribute this as well, and then it's combining like terms. We're not multiplying the two parentheses together. And so it becomes 10i minus 20i squared. Let's see, 7 times 13, that's going to be negative 1 carried 2, 91, and then minus 21i. And so I'll just verify real quick, all right, and then I'll put my negative 91 in the front. That's my only just number. Combine my i's, 10 minus 20. Oh, sorry, I also have this one right here. I'll take care of that in a little bit. Negative 91, 10 minus 21 is going to be a negative 11i, and then I have this negative 20i squared, which like we've talked about before, I squared is negative 1, which is going to make that positive 20, as that becomes negative 71 minus 11i. All right, next section is factoring the polynomials. If your a is 1, you don't have to do the x method. You can just do it in your head. What multiplies negative 15 adds negative 2. If you want to see the x method, though, on top is your a times c, on bottom is your b. And so it's 1 times negative 15, which is negative 15. On bottom is negative 2, which, as I just said out loud, we're going to see what multiplies the negative 15 and adds the negative 2. And so 15, 5 and 3 should work. So negative 5, positive 3, because that multiplies a negative 15. And if I add these two together, it's negative 2. We're going to divide by my a, which is 1. And so that reads 1x minus 5 and 1x plus 3. Number 8, I see they're all even. So we always want to see, is there anything on GCF first? And so let's divide by 2. And so 6x squared minus 13x minus 5 And now we'll do the x method. And so on top's gonna be a times c, which 6 times -5, that's gonna be -30. On bottom's -13. I try and think what two numbers multiply to -30. Those same two numbers add to -13. This is gonna be -15 and +2. And we'll divide by my a, which is 6. So this becomes 1/3. This one we can divide by 3 to get -5/2. I'm gonna drop down my GCF in the front, and then I've got 2x minus 5 and 3x plus 1. All right, next one. There's no GCF, so I'm going to think what multiplies to -6 and adds to 1. It's going to be a 3 and a -2, and we're going to divide by my a of 2. And so this becomes 2x plus 3 and 1x minus 1. Let's see, I can divide all these by 3, so I'm going to take out a 3. I'm left with 3x squared minus 2x minus 5. And then we'll think what multiplies to -15, adds a -2, which that looks familiar. We did that one earlier on number 7. So I know it's going to be -5 and +3. And we're dividing by 3 this time because my a is 3. And so we're going to have 3 in the front. That's my GCF. 3x minus 5 and 1x plus 1. All right, let's keep going. All right, we're still factoring. And so on this one, I want to think what multiplies to 9, adds a -6. That's going to be -3, -3. And so x minus 3, or you could write x minus 3 squared. They're the same thing either way. Number 12, I don't see anything at GCFs, and so what multiplies to 21 and adds a -22, that's going to be a -21 and a -1. And we're dividing by 7, which is my a, so -3/1. So we have x minus 3 and 7x minus 1. On this one, I can take out a 3x from both of them, and I'm left with 4x minus 1. And that's as far as it goes. There's no more exponents, so I'm done. On this one, I can take out a 3, and I'm left with x squared minus 16. And then this is going to be difference of squares, which is that a squared minus b squared goes down to a plus b, a minus b. And that's that formula you need to know. So you take the square root of both terms, and it turns into plus and minus. So I'll put the 3 in the front. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 16 is 4. X plus 4, x minus 4. Number 15, no GCF, and so we want to think what multiplies to 30, adds to -17. That's going to be both negative, so -15 and -2, and we'll divide by 15. And so we're going to have x minus 1 and 15x plus 2, or sorry, 15x minus 2. No GCF on this one, or is there? There is. On this one, I can pull out a 9, and I would be left with 16x squared minus 9. And so then I'm going to pull down the 9 and then do difference of squares with this one. Square root of 16x squared is 4x. Square root of 9 is 3, so 4x plus 3 and 4x minus 3. If you didn't GCF at the beginning and just went straight into difference of squares, just so you can see that as well, that would go to 12x plus 9, 12x minus 9, and then you see, oh wait, 12 and 9, I could have GCF'd. I can take out a 3 from this side, and I can take out a 3 from this side. If you take out a 3 from each side, 3 times 3, that's going to be 9 in the front. 12 divided by 3 is 4x plus 3, 4x minus 3. And so you end up getting the same answer regardless. Just one you GCF'd at the beginning, the other one we GCF'd at the end. All right, now we're going to be solving, and so we're going to specifically on this one solve by factoring. So we're going to do what we just did factoring, but now we're going to solve it as well. So I want to get everything to one side. I always want my a to be positive, so I'm going to move these two terms to the other side. It becomes positive x squared, positive 6x, and a positive 8 equals 0. And so what multiplies to 8 adds to 6 is going to be 4 and 2. And so x plus 4, x plus 2, So if I set each piece equal to 0, to get this one by itself, I would subtract 4 over, so x equals negative 4. Subtract 2 over, x equals negative 2. Those are my two answers. On this one, my a is positive, so I'm going to move these two over here. And so I have 3x squared minus 16x minus 12 equals 0. That's not divisible by 3, and so we're going to go ahead and get into, let's see, what multiplies to negative 36 and adds to negative 16. And so that's going to be negative 18 and positive 2. And we'll divide by 3. And so we have x minus 6 and 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. Set each piece equal to 0. For this one, we would add 6 over, which is 6. On this one, we would subtract 2 and then divide by 3, so negative 2/3. And if you ever think, oh, I don't know if I did this right or not, you can always go into the calculator and check it like we've done before, where I can plug in 6 for x, so 6 store x, and then just check it. 3x squared minus 16x minus 12, it should equal 0, which it did. And now I can do the same thing for negative 2/3, store for my x, and then I can just plug in the same equation. It equals 0, and so it checks. And so you can always check your work in your calculator by just doing what we've done before. Number 19, I'm going to move the 6x over, so 2x squared minus 6x equals 0. I can take out a 2x, and I'm left with x minus 3 equals 0. Set each piece equal to 0, so x equals 0. Because I divide by 2, 0 divided by 2 is 0. Add 3 over, I get 3. My a is positive, so it's good, so 4x squared. I'll move the x over, so that actually cancels out, and minus 9 equals 0. This is difference of squares, so 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. Set each piece equal to 0. So in this one, I would subtract 3 and then divide by 2. On this one, I would add 3 and then divide by 2. So you could write it both like that, or you could write positive negative 3/2. Both answers are true. All right. Number 21, we're going to solve by completing the square. So on this one, you don't necessarily have to get everything to one side if you know you're solving with completing the square, but I do need to create some space. So x squared minus 4x plus blank plus 3 minus blank equals 24. This blank right here, as a reminder, is your half of b and square it. And so on this one, my b is negative 4, so it's negative 4 divided by 2 and square it. That's negative 2 and square it, that's going to be a 4. So we'll add 4 there, but then we'll subtract 4 out here because we have to keep our equation balanced. All right, so then we'll factor this. What multiplies a 4 adds a negative 2. That's to be x minus 2 squared, which is always going to be this number right there. That becomes minus 1 equals 24. We'll add 1 over. Then we'll get rid of the square by taking the square root of both sides. So x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 5. And then we'll add 2 over. So plus or minus 5 plus 2. And so 5 plus 2 is 7. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Same thing on this one. X squared plus 6x plus blank plus 7 minus blank equals 34. So half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So we'll add 9 and subtract 9. This becomes x plus 3 squared minus 2 is equal to 34. We'll add the 2 over. Then we'll take the square root of both sides. And then we'll subtract the 3. And so 6 minus 3 is 3. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. On this one, I want this to be a 1, so I'm going to take out a 2 from these two terms. So 2x squared minus 6x plus blank plus 9 minus blank equals 89. And so half of negative 6 is negative 3 squared is 9. But it's not just a 9, it's 9 times 2. And so this blank is going to be 9 times 2, which is 18. Just to keep my equation balanced again. So 2x minus 3 squared has to be minus 9 is equal to 89. So I have 2x minus 3 squared is equal to, we'll add the 9 over to get 98. and then we'll divide by 2 to get 49, and then we'll take the square root to get plus or minus 7, and then I'll come over here, x equals plus or minus 7, and then we'll add the 3 over. And so x equals 7 plus 3 is 10, negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. Again, I'm going to take out a 3 from these two terms, so 3x squared plus 8x plus blank minus 4 minus blank equals negative 40. And so half of 8 is 4, 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 though, that's going to be 48 right here. So I have 3x plus 4 squared minus 52 is equal to negative 40. 3x plus 4 squared, I'm going to add the 52 over to get 12. And then we'll divide by 3. And then we'll take the square root. And then we'll subtract 4. And so 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And again, if you wanted to check your answers, and so I haven't checked any of these, I'll check this last one right here. I'll plug in negative 2 for my x, and I'll just go back up to my original equation. And so 3x squared plus 24x minus 4 is equal to negative 40. Check. Now let's do negative 6 store for x, and I'll plug in the same thing. Negative 40, check. And so you can real quick check your answer, make sure you got it right by just plugging it in. And then last one, solve by the quadratic formula. That's the negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, so on this one, I got to get it set equal to 0 first. So 2x squared plus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. And so that's going to be negative b, so negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, 3 squared is 9, minus 4 times 2 times negative 5, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Like we did the other day in class, I'm going to go ahead. We can just plug that into the calculator just to see what that is to kind of speed it up a little bit. So 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 5 gets 49. And then we know the square root of 49 is 7. And so now we're going to do the plus and the minus. So negative 3 plus 7 over 4, negative 3 minus 7 divided by 4. And so that becomes 4 over 4, which is 1. This becomes negative 10 over 4, which is negative 5 halves. This one's already set equal to 0, so we'll just plug it in. So negative b is the opposite of negative 6, which is positive 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared. Negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36, minus 4 times 1 times 3, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. And so again, I'll put that part under the square root in the calculator. 36 minus 4 times 1 times 3 is 24. We don't know the square root of 24, so I'll come out here to the side and simplify that radical. So 2 times 12, 2 times 6, 2 times 3. I've got a pair of 2's. So 6 plus or minus the pair of 2's comes to the outside. The 2 and 3 go back on the inside as 6. And then we'll simplify these 3 circles. So 3 plus or minus 1 square root of 6. All over 1, which doesn't do anything either. All right, last two. Number 27, it's already set equal to 0, which is good. So negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times 1 times 17, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So go in the calculator, 64 minus 4 times 17. So negative 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 over 2. Because there's a negative under the square root, I know I'm going to pull out an I, and then the square root of 4 is 2. It's a perfect square, and so it's 2i. And then I'll just see, can I simplify these 3 numbers? So negative 4 plus or minus I. Divide all 3 of those by 2. And then last one, I'll move these 2 to this side. So 25x squared minus 20x minus 6 equals 0. And so that becomes 20. Plus or minus the square root of 20 squared is 400, minus 4 times 25 times negative 6, all over 2 times a, which is 50. All right, and so I'm gonna plug in underneath again. So 400 minus 4 times 25 times negative 6 gets 1,000 over 50. And then I'm gonna go ahead and branch it because we know the square root of 1,000 is 10. So 20 plus 10, sorry, 100. And so we're gonna have 20 plus, I'm sorry, 1,000 not a perfect square. So I'm gonna come out to the side. I blanked on that one. That's my bad on that one. So I'm gonna come out to the side and we'll do our factor tree. So that's gonna be 2 and 500, 2 and 250, 2 and 125. This would be 5 and 25, which would be 5 and 5. And if we want to, we can verify 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 5 does equal 1,000. We're good. And so it's a pair of 2s right there, a pair of 5s right there, and then we have the 5 and 2 left over. Kind of running out of room with this scratch out, but I'll come right here. I've got, I'll come up here now. Okay, so we've got 20 plus or minus. And then I've got a pair of 2s and a pair of 5s, so that's gonna be 10. Square root of 2 times 5 is 10 on the inside as well, all divided by 50. And so we can divide all of these by 10. So that becomes 2 plus or minus square root of 10 over 5. And that's my final answer. And so that finishes the review. Let me know if you have any questions. My hope is you're ready for this test. Y'all have a good one.